Now, out on our channel, there are several good polishing engine part videos. This one is going to center around some little tools that I found that are very inexpensive and easy to use that'll allow you to polish the engine fins. Now, this is the bike that I'm in love with here, my RD400. The day I got it as a Valentine present, and you can see the engine was a little rough, along with the whole bike. And over the years, I've evil twinned it out many times. And on any day that I try to work on a bike, if I have a little spare time, I try to pick something to polish. Today, I'm going to polish the engine fins. And these are the things you don't have to do all at once. You can do a little bit every day. The more you do, the nicer it looks. I put on some tips and some information that I think will make the job easy. And the tools are very inexpensive. The work part of it, I don't think it's a high skill job at all, but if you're in doubt, give it a try. Any air-cooled bike really looks really cool with the fins polished. So there's the two things I need. I got my Harbor Freight Dremel tool replica. I got the little fuzzy guy on the end. I've got the whole thing of bits, and I want to do a little sanding with the sanding sticks, and I brought out some sanding blocks and some different grades of sandpaper. I just want to see if this is going to be as good as I think it will be, and if this little tool is going to be useful in doing it. Now, once I have a new tool, I just go crazy trying to find things to use it on, because the tool is under $20, and the bits, these are for all purposes free. And I guess I could even try these little wire things. They're 3M pad things. So time for a little experimental time, and this is probably one of the things on an unpredictable day. Maybe we can learn something. And of course, if we do, we can share it. So the first thing is to take these rubber blocks out, just because it's a very simple thing. I don't want to have that I get these all full of compound and everything. So getting those out will be step one. Now the truth is, these are supposed to come out all in one piece, and of course they don't when they're this old, but we can put them all back, and it's a little bit of an annoying thing to do this, but without these little rubber blocks, the engine makes a lot more rattling noise, and of course the two strokes always make I call it a rattling noise. That's probably not the right word, but I always like to have these back in. It's just a question of you sitting there and the bike's idling and it's, and I know I had some between the fins at one time, and it definitely mutes the sound just a little bit. But okay, with these out, now the truth is that I've already tried to polish these with the big buffer. The big buffer, I just made a mess. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get in here with that little wire brush first. The first thing I want to do, job one, I want to try to sand it with a sanding stick with this is probably 400 grit paper. Because what I want to do is I want to dress off the top edge and make it nice and smooth. So that, see, this right now it's not nice and smooth. I never block sanded it. So, and this will be a nice little, I'm sure you'll see it when this is done. This is the kind of thing you don't think anybody will see, but since we want to maintain these bikes, the problem is you just can't run out and buy a new one. That's the problem. So in a roundabout way, it pays to spend whatever time and energy you have to keep these nice, or even better than new. So again, I don't know if this is going to be the easiest way to do it. What I'm trying to establish is I don't want a point at the top. I want a smooth radius so that the light is going to reflect right off of the radius. What I have now is a point, and the point that it's showing me, the problem is that point is not straight. So step one, and I guess if you had any air-cooled bike and you want to, I guess, make a little upgrade to it, and let's face it, this, with the way we're all sequestered in and everything, I don't really regret this time. Now, if we weren't sequestered in today, I might be going to visit Luciano or go up to Joe Roselli's house or something, go visit somebody. But we're sequestered in, and I'm trying to stay busy. And so far, I wouldn't want to do this with 180 grit or something rough. I'm going to do it with a fine grit. This is probably 400. It's what the nail files that women use to do their nails. So, but it's got to be flat, and I've also got to have that radius. So this is going to take just a little bit of time. And it's a time-consuming thing. And if you don't have an air-cooled bike, of course, well, what's the point? But I have seen some engines that I know somebody spent 1,000 hours detailing out, and they look beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And this will be one little thing, you know, instead of what our normal routine is. If I can spend a couple hours here today, I still have to do the back wheel, and I have a whole bunch of other little upgrades I want to make to this Evil Twin project before before the riding season comes. You never know. The riding season could come this afternoon. You never know. So anyway, let's see if we've got a little radius on that. And if we do, yeah, we do. Now I can feel it. This is sharp. This isn't sharp. This is flat. This is like a casting. So now just a quick picture of a before and after, and pretty obvious to me which looks the better. So when I tested these little 3M pad things, I didn't see a lot of difference of the way they were cut in aluminum. We'll see. I'll see if any of them make any difference for better or worse. And by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen the videos before, this about 4 days ago, we bought all these things on Amazon. The whole thing cost about $40, if I remember right, $30 or $40. I got 800 of these little sanding drums, mandrels. And the purpose of the last couple of videos is I'm trying to find things. This one is especially useful. But these will be good, I think, for radius. I'm trying to get a nice radius on the top of that fin. Now the first thing I noticed, I have to go get another pair. I forgot to get my safety glasses from the cellar. But I noticed right away, these things, the problem is, well, not a real problem, they really do spit out some little grit. But they really do a good job of cleaning up that radius. So the first step is I want to go get some safety glasses. One of the advantages, it's easier to get this little tool around the edge to clean up that edge just a little bit. Now it takes me a little time anyway, and I would say for sure when you use these little wire wheels, definitely use use some safety glasses. And this is just going to take some time. I'm going to do, well, I ought to polish one fin just to see how it's gonna play out. It looks like it's a small detail, but it really isn't. Now what happens, you get a lot of dust from these wheels. As they start to wear out, you get a little dust. Now so it's really good if it were nicer outside, and I hope the sun's going to come out. I could do this outside, but right now it's really cloudy. So I'm going to try one of the fuzzy pads with some Meguiar's. With the Meguiar's, well, the Mother's probably even cuts harder than the Meguiar's, just to see if I can get that shine to come up. Now I got to do a little experimenting with the speeds. I started with 3. See how this is going to play out. Well, it does buff it right up though. And again, we get this powder or whatever comes out of these things. Not a big deal. What I'll do when this is over, if it's not raining, go outside and just take some compressed air and blow that all out. Now, so many people, when they modify a bike, upgrade it, customize it, whatever you want to call it, they leave out little details. And a really, really sweet bike to me, it's not anything big and radical. It's not something gigantic, but it's a lot of little details, a lot of little polishing of bolts, a lot of little cleaning up rusty areas. And the fins on the engine, almost everybody skips that step. You almost never see anybody that spends the time, because it is time consuming. But having these little tools from Amazon and the little Dremel, the fake Dremel from Harbor Freight, make this as easy as it can be. Yeah, it looks like it's coming right up very quickly. But is the kind of thing, it takes a little experiment and see where this is going to be good if I want to get in here. I want to get down into the black hole in space. There's no way I can do that with any kind of a big tool. In fact, I'm just running this over the fins with no other preparation, just to see how it works. It looks like it's going to work pretty good. And boy, some of the old bikes, the Nortons and the BSAs, when all the aluminum was polished, I always look at Tim's Norton, and I know what a labor of love that is to keep that nice and clean. Well, all these old air-cooled bikes, they have one thing in common: polished aluminum. Now, I've taken care of doing each one of these fins, and I'm trying to go over it now. And then the final little bit I'll have to do by hand. There are definitely a few little places I can't get. I'll have to use the paint stick. But it's doing a really nice job. When this is done, it's really going to look nice. And it's one of those little things you don't think is going to make a big deal, a big difference in a motorcycle. I always think of Tim's Norton as a bike that has just the right amount of polished aluminum parts. One of the final things I want to do here, I have some of my favorite white diamond, which I always call blue diamond and black diamond and diamonds are forever or whatever. Anyway, I want to protect this. I'll flitz it at the very end, but this will put the final little shine on everything, I'm sure. And then I've got to get my paint stick and get some of the compound that winds up in between the fins, but when this is done, it really looks nice. And this little tool has allowed me to get in spots that I'd never be able to get in by hand or by using some bigger, more heavy-duty tool, and it still worked perfect. Now, what you're supposed to do with white diamond, I'm going to do this just to show it, is, and this is a mistake I made many times. You put on any area, put on a coat of white diamond, and you've got to let it sit for a minute, because there's chemicals in here that pull up the oxidation. Now, in a freshly polished part, I want this to really, really be nice when I take it out in, if the sun ever comes out. Well, it's supposed to be nice. I may as well just, while I'm waiting here, clean this up a little bit. The dust is on everything. I'm going to have to, of course, go around this and get rid of the dust, but... Now, in other videos that are out on our channel, I've polished the side cases and polished other bits and pieces, the exhaust system, the head pipes. Every little detail, every time you take a part off the bike or polish it on the bike, and you either clean it up, take the rust off, or in this case, the engine fins. Everybody thinks, oh, you spend the time and nobody will ever notice that. Then you take it to somewhere where there's a meetup, and the first thing somebody says, ooh, how did you polish those engine fins? Wow. And the nice thing about this, you don't have to take the engine apart. You don't have to do anything. You do it on a rainy day, or a day you're not going to ride. And in this case, because I've been evil twinning this bike out for 12 years now, and changing parts, modifying it, having that engine nice and shiny really makes the project complete. Considering what the alternatives would have been today, let's see, I could have watched Dances with Wolves. I could have, I don't know. And I know Karen has a bunch of stuff for me to do later today, so anything I can do out here, if I get an hour or two out here, it really makes me think, wow, it's almost like I went for a ride. Okay, so we've waited a minute. I want to clean this up now. I do like the way the white diamond, it probably has some chemical in it that pulls up any oxidation, but and it does get protection, but I will at the end of this, of course, flitz everything down. I just think for me, and because it's part of it is these bikes sit in a garage that's very damp and humid, and I think the flitz always seems to work to my advantage somewhere down the road. Anyway, but those fins now the only part that's left, I hope I got my paint stick out here to show one final little trick that might be worthwhile, because there's always some compound or something in between the fins. And this will just make it just a little bit nicer and neater. And if you have a bike that's leaking oil, or it's not sealing up in some of the head gasket or somewhere, one of the things you can do is just put a little diesel fuel on a stick like this, and it'll clean that up a little bit till you get time to go. It won't bake the oil on anyway. Now, another useful tip, if you have a friend visiting or hanging out with you, have them hold a shop vac right near the Dremel tool, and it'll suck up a lot of that dust and a lot of the little debris that comes off when you're doing this kind of job. A good tip. Anyway, this is a small little detail. I always think the difference between a bike that stands out in a crowd and doesn't, and of course some people have no use at all for custom bikes. They just want to have new bikes. That's perfectly okay. There's no reason to get get upset about it in any way. But I know what I like, and in my personal case, there's certain things that I like, and I'm sure there's other people that like exactly the opposite. And the good news is, it doesn't matter. We can still be friends. Now, at the very end of any polishing operation, I always like to just put on, and you really don't need this much. I probably have too much on there. I like to put on a coat of Flitz. The Flitz is there for protection. Even little areas like this, I hope these will stay nice and smooth and shiny for some amount of time. And we put a couple hours into this little project here. And I'm not sure how the weather's going to play out since I've been in this garage with the doors shut. It may clear up this afternoon, you never know. Get some photos taken, or, oh, God forbid, maybe even get a ride if it got warm. But anyway, I've really come to appreciate, let me get a clean rag now. I really have come to appreciate having polished parts on the motorcycles. It's just me. I know it makes me enjoy the ride more. I don't know how that happens. I'm not sure, but having a bike that's really nice and clean, and I don't know, you stand back and take a look at it. Hey, I have to share a really funny story as I'm cleaning this up. I didn't think about this until right now. Luciano and I had gone on a track day to Millville. Absolutely a true story, and I know this is really gonna make a lot of people laugh. And we were down at the end of the pit row, pitting, and guy pulled up next to us. He was going to pit right next to us, and he had a beautiful, beautiful truck with a Triumph motorcycle, a Triumph triple in it. And he got out of the van, and he looked like a GQ model, and I was thinking, oh man, the guy has a beautiful bike. He's young and handsome and good looking and everything. And Luciano and I are looking at each other, go, yeah, but we're tough guys. We'll teach him a lesson when we get out on the track. And I look, and he goes into the van, and holy mackerel, he's got the matching leathers with the matching zoot suit boots with stars on them and everything, and his name on the back. And I was really impressed on Luciano when this guy, he can't be that good. He's too pretty, and he's too young, and we'll give him a riding lesson when we go out there. We were doing our grumpy old men thing. And we get out on the track, and before we even got out on the track, he's checking the air in the tires, and I'm looking at the bike, and it's all polished up. It's beautiful. It's like I polished it. And get out on the track, and I'm looking for him, and I'm looking, we're going to give him a riding lesson. We teach him to come to track day with a big, brightish, beautiful bike. He went by us like we were standing still, like we were in reverse. It was embarrassing. We pulled into the pits, and we got to talk to the guy. He's a very, very nice guy, and he really was a good rider. He was a lot better than us anyway. But anyway, that's a true story. And I remember that bike. I may even have some pictures of it from our Millville track days. But take a look at that engine, and you tell me if that bike, that floats my boat. Now, I've got to put those little rubber blocks back in, but I think, and it's just me, I know it's just me, that floats my boat. I really think that when I go for a ride and I go park it out in the sun somewhere, to me, I like that. Now, that was only a couple hours. I'm going to do the other side in another work session. Because when I do jobs like this, I never want to rush. I always want to take my time. I want to do them as good as I can, and it's not important if I get them finished. Now, as I come up on the end of today's project, I look at it, I stand back and look at it, and I think, is that worth it? Well, I remember when I had first gotten a bike and the engine was really in rough shape. And I remember taking each one of those covers off, taking the heads off. At one point in time, I had two sets of heads, one that Kenny Augustine made, the late Kenny Augustine, some modified heads, and I polished them up too. Luciano's got them on his bike now, I think. I'm not sure. But anyway, polishing the parts up. And if you think of it, yes, you could do other things. You could, without even mentioning them. But on an air-cooled bike where the engine is out in the open, like a Norton, like a BSA, and there's no fairing around it, you could not do this to an RZ because the motor's covered up to a certain point. But anyway, on an air-cooled bike, that is like, you can make it like a woman's diamond ring, to where you put your hand out and everybody looks at the diamond ring. And that engine sits in a part of the bike, especially when the rest of the bike is in nice shape. The engine stands out like it's got a spotlight on it. I put those rubber blocks back in, and again, there's a lot of little detailing on this bike. I've got it all out on the channel. Some of the things on the channel now I have that they're broken down by groups, so the playlists, you can look at playlists, pick out things that you want to check out. And I don't have the whole channel done yet, but I'm going in that direction. But this polishing, a day like today, when I think of the beginning of the day and the end of the day, was it worth it? For me, it is. I don't know about you. So it got sunny out, warmed up a little bit. I think we're going to go get a nice little ride in. In fact, this sun is coming out brighter than ever. Time to go. It's hard to believe. That really does add a nice little touch to the motorcycle. I really think that's worth it. Anyway, I got to go get suited up. It's time to ride. I didn't expect it, but the sun came out, and we never want to miss a riding day, that's for sure. So one of the things I found as time has gone by, these little, I call them mandrels, buffing wheels, whatever you want to call them. I originally invested about $40 in it and about $20 in the tool. So for that $60, I've gotten a lot of years of polishing, especially when I want to polish something without taking it off the bike, a bolt head or any other little part of an engine, or the lower float bowls on the carbs, or it's just a handy system, such a handy tool. If you're prone to detailing bikes like I am and you enjoy looking at that engine right there, it's only a matter of hours, and it's no heavy work. It's not like mixing concrete, that's for sure. And it's certainly not out of the skill range of anybody. It's just labor. And when you I like to do things on the motorcycle that I do. I don't pay somebody to do. And I like to do it as practice and try to learn things. And then when I do learn something that works or something that I think is a good value, I try to make a video and share it with everybody. And in sharing it, what it means is we all have some pretty nice motorcycles. So, and I hope yours are just as enjoyable to polish and ride as mine are. I actually got a little bit of a ride today, and any day you can get out on a ride, I think it's just a good day, for me anyway, to count your blessings. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And
It should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.